Hello again, Warren here with the Peach State Prime Transformers channel. And today I'm actually playing a little bit of catch up because there's been, I usually like to comment on some of the new Transformers releases and reveals that are out there. Whether it's from Hasbro or one of their licensing partners like Yellow Park or Blockies, or of course Takara Tomy. Anyways, there's one that leaked a couple days before it was officially released for pre-order by Hasbro. And this is the Age of the Primes Sentinel Prime figure. And boy, do I have some issues with this one. So let's start with the positives. I do like how the figure looks. As a standalone figure, maybe not a Sentinel Prime. This is a retool, redeco of Tarn. Voyager Class Tarn. That's very important to this video. And, I think it looks good as a Transformer, as a, someone who has the title of Prime. Of course, the various media love to play with that. The alt mode here, the somewhat of a tank mode. Yeah. So, I've heard it referred to as a forklift, as a piece of cheese. I think this is supposed to be a tank. It reminds me of a mouse droid, kind of, from Star Wars. There's just not a lot going for this alt mode. It is supposed to be a tank. I mean, maybe it's almost, going back to Star Wars, maybe like a sandcrawler, kind of? I don't know, but I do think it's ultimately pretty weak. So, I know, I said I'd start with the positives, and I'm already jumping into the negatives. The robot mode is where I think all the positives are. Within reason. Because, again, I think it works as a standalone Transformer, whether it's a Prime or not. The biggest issue, I think, with this being called Sentinel Prime is I don't think it resembles what modern Transformers fans think of when they think of Sentinel Prime. And let me explain. This version of Sentinel Prime, this orange and yellowish, very bright Sentinel Prime, is more reminiscent of what was in the IDW comic books, as most of us know. And there was a toy that was similar in color scheme back in Power of the Primes, I believe it was. He was a Titan Master, I believe, where his head came off. Headmaster, Titan Master, whatever you want to call it. And then this is kind of the next version of that. Now, while the comics are very popular, they sell very well, nothing is ever going to top the exposure of video-based media. And what I mean by that is a cartoon or a movie, a series of some sort. Sentinel Prime, starting in Transformers Animated, I believe it was primarily blue. And, the thing that's constant with Sentinel Prime as far as a character is he's a jerk. Pure and simple. Oftentimes either a jerk or an outright villain. But Transformers Animated, which was on Cartoon Network, he was more blue in color. Fast forward to the release of Transformers 1, a very underrated film that did not perform as much as we would have liked it to when it was released in theaters, but an excellent film. Sentinel Prime was once again primarily blue. Now, despite, the film not getting as much exposure as they would have liked it to have, or everybody would have liked it to have in the theaters, there's a ton of merchandise. You got the Blockies models. You have the small blind backs, the Galaxy version, and then I believe it's the classic class, where you have Sentinel Prime. Not to mention this toy and the one, and I forget the terms for it, but the one that was more geared toward children was also blue. And again, that was a motion picture released to theaters, and he was blue. So my biggest problem beyond the alt mode and everything else, except for one other thing, which I'll get into, you know what it is that they went with the more obscure paint color. I honestly think they should have made him resemble more his past appearances, where he was more blue in color. Simply because you could look at it then and say, hey, that's a different version of Sentinel Prime. That's like, with the very rare exception, Optimus is blue and red. Okay, with, unless it's like, some sort of special repaint or whatever. Transformers, despite their, differences in aesthetics and molds outside of the live action movies, primarily at least keep their colors intact, so you know who they are. And I have to say they really should have gone with what has become the modern acceptance of Sentinel Prime. Heck, even going back to G1, the G1 cartoon, there was in Five Faces of Darkness a scene where they showed a past Autobot leader who everybody has retroactively named Sentinel Prime, as far as the G1 series is concerned. And a lot of the rumors of this release was that it was going to be that figure, that it was going to look like that character from the show. And again, what color was he? Blue. So I really, really, really think that, the design of this figure, they went with the wrong version. Again, people are allowed to like this. I just personally think they went with the wrong version of the figure. Of the character, excuse me. And maybe we'll get a repaint in blue later. Who knows? He does come with this golden disc type thing, which I guess is an homage to Beast Wars. And you can plug in the different artifacts that came with the other Age of the Primes releases. Honestly, I don't think this adds much value. I mean, the disc itself looks cool with the little matrix thing in the middle. I don't know. I just don't see a lot of lore behind this, and it's just, you have to have purchased, and I guess that's Hasbro's, scheme here. You had to have purchased all the other Primes that in Age of the Primes to plug in something from them. I think alone it looks fine. I don't really understand it being connected. I mean, I guess this plays into Sentinel Prime's schemes. Maybe he's trying to collect all these artifacts to get some sort of ultimate power, which, I get. And it also works as a shield. So that's that. Again, standalone figure, fine, representing what most have come to acknowledge as Sentinel Prime. Doesn't really do it for me. And again, everybody was really hoping for that, that G1 version, again, that has retroactively become Sentinel Prime. Now on to my big rant about the figure. I've kind of said some of the pros and cons, not a big fan overall. This has to be spoken about. This figure is $67.99, and I'm looking at Hasbro Pulse here. At $68 for a Voyager class figure along with this golden disc accessory, which I'm sure most people could take or leave. Let that sink in. A regular Voyager class now is astronomical as it is on a store shelf. It's around $43 US. Which Tarn and this figure very much are. It even says in the description here, Transformers Age of the Primes Voyager Class Sentinel Prime. Voyager Class. Okay, they threw this disc thing in there with some holes on it that you could plug, accessories into. And that somehow warrants this figure costing you more than an average leader class toy now, which comes in around $60 US. I don't get it. I've spoken at length about some of the prices before, especially on the Hot Wheels collaboration. This is just insanity. Why this costs so much. And I try to stay positive in my videos, even on stuff that I don't like, again, including this. You're allowed to like it. You're allowed to get it. I'm not telling you what to do. But at the same time, I gotta call greed where I see it. I would have liked to have said something else, but I like to try to keep this family friendly in my word choices. $68 for a Voyager class with one extra accessory. This makes 0 sense. I don't care if it's a limited release. Heck, Star Eagle's a limited release. It was the same price as a regular Voyager. Excuse me, not Voyager, Deluxe class that we have now, even though that's steeper than it should be because of tariffs. And I don't want to hear tariffs as an excuse on this one, because $43 is the tariff price on Voyager class toys. And I'm sorry, an extra accessory, it's not even transformable. I mean, if they gave you like a little, Legends class figure in here, or core class, whatever you want to call it, okay, fine. Let's increase that price. Maybe even just to $60. Not even $68 with a transforming figure. I don't get this. Despite my critiques of the figure, I don't even care what the figure's name is or who it's supposed to be here. This is solely based on they're giving us a Voyager class figure, I know I keep repeating it, with a golden circle with holes in it. $68. You could go to GameStop. People are complaining about the Leader Class Studio Series 86 Megatron. If you go to GameStop, it's $65. When it's $60 in a regular store, that's a steal compared to this. I don't understand, and I think that the proof is in the pudding here, because when you go to Hasbro Pulse, this thing is still up for pre-order as of today, and it's been up, I forget exactly when it went up, probably getting close to a week now. It's been maybe over half a week, and if this was something, usually something like this would have sold out for pre-orders. And, especially because it looks like a good robot on its own. Forget that vehicle mode for a minute. But this price, I think, is just turning people away. And I have not seen any interviews with Hasbro. Not that they always disclose why things cost more. However, they have been very fan-friendly in doing so in some of the live streams before. Like, oh, well, we, packed it in with this to fill out that price point. Or, this is, the tooling costs us more. I think they're really going to have to sell people on this to get anyone to buy this that watches their purchases, like me, who can't afford to just, has the disposable income to buy every single Transformer that comes out. I think of any discussion that I've had on this channel so far about an upcoming release, this is the most epic fail on Hasbro's part. Not only because of, you know, changes they could have made for this character, but also the price tag. The price tag is just unacceptable. I am not buying this figure. The only way that I would buy this figure is if I found it at Ross or Ollie's, you know, maybe for about 30 bucks. And then it's even iffy. You know, if they were going to charge $68, they could have given us a better alt mode for this price point, and they could have made it resemble the character that people have come to accept and actually wanted, you know, from that G1 cartoon versus just a retool of an existing mold. They didn't even completely retool or build this guy from the ground up. So again, I don't know where that money's coming from. It's, you know, cost savings for them to just do a retool. So, you know, again, I apologize for the extended rant here. I feel it was warranted. Again, I really try to do my best to stay positive in every release. I mean, if you're going to get this, more power to you. I'm glad you have the money to pay $68 for a Voyager. But anyways, you know, before I start rambling and repeating myself too much, which I know I already have, I do want to invite you to share your comments. What do you think of this figure? You know, do you think it's worth $68? Do you think it should have been blue? Do you think it should have been a new mold? You know, let me know. And, you know, join in that conversation there. And, of course, if you liked kind of, you know, this video reviewing my thoughts on this figure, again, your mileage may differ. Feel free to give this video a like here on YouTube. And, of course, subscribe to the Peach State Prime Transformers channel for more content that's generally more positive than this, but toy reviews, discussions, you know, reflections on the news that are coming up for upcoming figures and releases. But anyways, and if you're into other fun videos, such as travel videos, including tourist attractions, amusement parks, special events, fun places to eat and shop, I do have my original Peach State Prime channel. Feel free to check that out. I promise I don't rant as much, or at least as lengthy as this over there, except for about one video. Anyways, want to thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great day, and God bless.